everyone.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. Hi. My name is Dana Bookman, and I am the head of marketing and PR for Lorna in the United States. And this is our Year of Believe in 2017. And so we thought, what better way to kick this off than to have a series and bring really incredible, inspiring women into our store and invite amazing people to share in that experience. And that's really because we believe that inspired women inspire women. And so I'm so excited to introduce Amberly Lago. Amberly is a dear friend and someone who's inspired me in my life, and so I was so excited to ask her to be here. For those of you who don't know, she's hi, come join us. She's a fitness trainer and former professional dancer. And she was involved in a horrific motorcycle accident, and she, SUV hit her leg took the brunt of the hit, and you know, she's gone through 34 surgeries?
34 and done.
34 and done. Yes. But she never lets anything stop her, and I think she just has such a powerful message to share. So thank you so much for being here. And welcome.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming with roads closed and rain and on a work night. I really appreciate you coming.
Yes. Thanks. So just to kick us off, can you describe yourself in one sentence?
Well, I'm a Texas girl living in an LA world, proud mama and wife who's chosen to not define myself with 34 accidents and a nerve disease, but rather empower myself and inspire others to never give up.
That's amazing.
That was a long sentence.
I love that. It's a powerful sentence. And what do you feel is your unique gift to the world?
Well, it's funny. I asked my mom, I texted her, I knew she'd be awake, and I said, Mom, what's my unique gift? And she said, well, you're just like a little ray of sunshine that lights up every room that you walk into. So then I asked Johnny, my husband, and he said, well, you got a banged up leg. And I said, well, no. I said, because I've got a little ray of sunshine, it helps me get over the banged up leg, but I think they're both important. But I really had to think about what is it exactly that does keep me moving forward. And I really think that there's just this light inside that has never completely gone out. It's been really dim at times, but some people call that light hope, faith, spirit, whatever you want to call it. It's not really unique. I think we all have it. I just think it's finding that light and sharing your light with others.
That's so beautiful. Thank you. You talked about when your light goes dim, and I know you've had a lot of insurmountable challenges that, you know, a lot of people would take that and, you know, not do what you've done and take that and pull back rather than push forward. What helps you overcome those challenges when that light's dim?
When that light's dim, I honestly have several things that helped me get through. I remember lying in my hospital bed. I had a hospital bed in the living room, and I was in so much pain, and I would think, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get up? How am I going to start my day? And Ruby Lee was only 2, and I would hear her little voice, and that was all I would need to get me to pop me up out of bed and get my day started. But also I really was getting caught up and focusing on things I used to be able to do, and I have to focus on what I call my new normal, and focus instead of, oh, I used to be able to run 5 miles, I used to wear 5-inch stiletto heels. I have to focus on, I can still exercise, I can wear funky boots now. I have to focus on what I'm grateful for and what I can do now. So just those things help me get through.
Yeah, that's really inspiring, because I think a lot of us fall into the trap of comparison, right? Whether it's comparison against someone else or comparison against yourself at a different time. And so I think that's something we can all relate to.
Yeah, just living in your, I call new normal. And Johnny actually is who kind of snapped me out of that, because I was spiraling down and getting depressed. And when you stop and you're grateful, and you know, I write a gratitude list every morning, and when you focus on the things that you're grateful for, you don't have time to get caught up in the comparison of what you used to do. You focus on what you can do now.
Yeah. So redefining yourself, I think, is something that, again, a lot of us can relate to, whether it's you're a dancer and now you can't dance anymore, whether, you know, it's I had this career and now that career is not there for me anymore. Like, how have you transitioned that? And you've done such a beautiful job of taking, you know, redefining yourself when you've had that opportunity. What's helped you to do that?
Well, who the heck would have ever thought that I would be speaking in front of you? I mean, come on. I will never forget, I was on my way to my first speech, and I called my dad. And I told him I was about to give a speech to a bunch of executives, and he goes, well, why would you do that? Don't you know that's number 2 fear? But it makes me feel good, and it fills me if I have other people that get something out of, you know, something that I've learned through my journey. I remember when I got out of the hospital, I was home and I was in my bed, and I couldn't wait to get back to work. And really, at that point, I needed my clients more than they needed me. I needed a purpose, and I needed that to push me to get better so I could get to my work. And I had a friend come over, and she said, well, what are you going to do now? You can't be a trainer. And I burst into tears. And I thought, what do you mean I can't be a trainer? And so, honestly, that motivated me. I mean, don't ever tell a woman she can't do something, because that's the first thing she's going to do. It motivated me to train clients anymore. But I have to be honest, I felt so broken, because I went from training professional athletes and people who were competing in fitness competitions to now I'm walking in the gym with a leg that's still broken, and I thought, who's going to want to train with me? And to my surprise, I had so many people that reached out to me and wanted to train, because they saw me in a wheelchair, they saw me in the gym in a walker, they saw me in a gym on crutches, then walking, then with a broken arm, and then walking in crutches again. And they saw that I would just keep pushing forward and doing my best to be there. And so I then had people that sought after me to train them that they were told they couldn't do something, and I was telling them, no, you can. You can do it if I can do it. And sometimes, believe me, some of my clients don't like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, really? You can. If I can do it, you can do it. But then I slowly got asked to do a talk to this group of people or this group of people, and it slowly but surely built, and then I got asked to do more speaking jobs. And I mean, the first time I did a speech, I went to Nordstrom's and I was like, help, I need a suit. I didn't even own a suit. And I went up to give a speech, and the whole time I kept my hands in my pocket. And my friend was like, yeah, you did good on your speech, but you kept your hands in your pocket the whole time. And I was like, well, it felt good, but it was the first time I ever wore a suit. So, but it really fills my heart when I get asked to go and give speeches and have that opportunity. I feel very blessed.
Yeah, well, we're blessed to have you here.
Thank you.
So, talk to me about, you're obviously such a strong force of nature, and that light and that perseverance is so incredible. How do you become okay with being vulnerable, and what does that look like for you? Well,
I've always been very self-confident. Johnny says stubborn, but I say self-confident. And, you know, in Texas, I come from a place where we have sayings like suck it up, get her done, cowgirl up, and that's how I was raised, that you suck it up and you move on. And this accident really taught me so much about life and myself and the important things. And, you know, really a part of healing is not sucking it up. It's about loving yourself and having compassion for yourself. And I had a good friend once tell me, you know, she goes, you can still be vulnerable and be fierce. And I was like, oh, it was like, okay, I can be vulnerable.
So powerful.
Yeah, and it's okay. You know?
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I think that a lot of times we don't hear that as much, right? It's like, don't be sensitive, suck it up, you know. But there's that fierceness and that power in understanding your vulnerability. Obviously, a lot of us have been injured in one way or another. What helps you through those moments of just when you do want to push through? And how do you know when to push and when to rest? Because I think that's something that a lot of us struggle with, is like, where is that line? I mean, I know I do. It's like, you know, I'm injured. When do I keep pushing, and when do I need to rest and back off? Because you have to listen to that. How do you figure that out?
Well, that is my biggest challenge. And I looked at the definition for the word insane, and it was me. It was like doing something over and over and expecting a different result. And it was like I had to be knocked over the head to understand that, you know, the importance of listening to my body. And not necessarily pushing through the pain. When about 3.5 months after my accident, I was so proud to be on crutches, and I was going to a doctor's appointment, and I walked in, there I was proud, and he looked at me and he said, are you the type of person that feels like you can push through pain? Or you push through pain? I said, well, yes indeed, I sure do. And he said, well, you know what, you have a nerve disease and you need to get back in your wheelchair and not push through the pain. And so I was heartbroken and went straight to the gym and worked out instead. But
he's like, stop. And she goes, okay, a different way.
Yeah. And so, you know what, when after a surgery, especially the 34th surgery for me was so difficult. It was really a challenge. It was starting over again. But I think focusing on what makes me feel good, it helps. And I know that if I can somehow exercise, when I was in the hospital, I knew if I could keep my upper body strength, that it would make me feel better, it would make me feel more normal. So I asked one of the trainers that Jan knows, Danny, to bring me some weights to the gym. And so I did weights in between surgeries at the hospital, and I asked the doctor, he probably thought I was crazy, but I asked him for a pull-up bar so I could pull myself up in the bed to keep my upper body strength. Because I believe if you do the things that make you feel better, like exercise, it releases endorphins. And I'm not just saying this because I've been a trainer and in the fitness industry. I mean, it does, it's always been, it's like a drug, endorphins. It just makes you feel good.
Yeah.
It works, yeah. So, and you know, I'm not gonna lie, there were days when I thought, I can't work out, I can't do anything. And what I really learned the hard way, because I am stubborn and I was so, you know, independent, was I learned about teamwork. And if it weren't for all of you, I just want to cry. I love you guys. No, I mean, that helped me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the teamwork.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the team of doctors. Because, I mean, I had a team of doctors. It was like they would get in like a football huddle outside.
Yeah.
And they would go outside and they would come in and they would say, okay, this is what we're going to do. And there were no guarantees that they were going to save my leg. When I woke up out of a coma, well, first after trying to pull the tubes out, and they said no, and then I wrote on a pad, Johnny was leaning over me, and you would think I would write, "Oh, I love you, honey." I wrote, "Get off my tubes." Cutting off circulation to my air tubes. But, you know, I learned very quick that it took the doctors, the team of doctors, to save my leg. It took all of my friends to lift me up. I mean, there are days when you don't feel like you can lift yourself up, and that's when that light in your friends, that are so dear to you, that they can help pick you up, you know. And when I was in the hospital, I would just lie in bed, and I didn't sleep because every 3 hours they would come. My leg was completely open, and I had these metal like stakes in my leg that held the leg in place, and every 3 hours they would have to come and change the bandages. And so I would just watch the clock, and I would just wait. I was like, okay, 2 more hours, an hour, okay, they're coming in, they're going to change the bandages. And I would watch TV, and there is not much TV options in the hospital. And I saw Law and Order episodes, and how, you know, Body by Jake, and infomercials on how to get that Brazilian butt. And I mean, I have to be honest, I was like, I am never going to have a Brazilian butt. I mean, you know, I was like, and I started to have like a little pity party, and I started getting depressed, and I was like, I have got to pull myself out of this. And I started just writing, and I think there's something healing about going from here to writing it down. And I mean, I was writing everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, but the most important thing I wrote was a gratitude list. And I think that's one of the things that saved me. I wrote down every nurse that came in to take care of me. I wrote down every gift I received in the hospital. And so, you know, those couple of things really helped pull me through.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, what inspires you?
I have a lot of things that inspire me, and I think it's important to definitely have role models and people that inspire you, and surround yourself with people who inspire you and people who believe in your dreams. But I really have to say that this little girl right here, Ruby Lee Rose, she is really an inspiration to me. She's a horseback rider, and she's fearless, and she's really got that get back up on that horse attitude. In her case, it's get back up on that pony, right? Molly knows, she's at the barn, and you know, I've seen her get thrown off. I've been to the barn where the pony has rear-ended and bucked, and I was scared, and I tried not to show her that I was scared, but she just grabs hold. She takes the bull by the horns, and the way she lives, just fearless, and her go-getter attitude, it really inspires me.
Just like her mama. What's the best piece of advice you've received?
I would say probably the best advice I've been given is I've heard, let go of who you think you're supposed to be and really embrace who you are. And that's something I really had to learn to do again, because I was upset at myself that I couldn't do things that I was able to do before. I wanted to be able to walk without a limp. I wanted to be out of pain, and I would get upset with my leg, and I would look down at my leg and be ashamed. And it wasn't until I had a doctor's appointment with Dr. Wiss, and he's the surgeon who, after doctors were going to amputate it, and I had a 1% chance of saving my leg, he saved it. And I walked into his office, and he's a trauma specialist, and I sit in front of him, and he takes my leg and he puts it in his lap, and he was looking at it and touching it and looking like it was a piece of art, like it was his masterpiece. And everything shifted for me, and I thought, wow, he looks at my legs so differently, and it changed the way I looked at things. And if I could only keep that healthy perspective of, as my husband says, when I've been, kind of beating myself up sometimes, he said, well, at least you have 2 legs. And he's right. And he also says it's because of him that I have 2 legs. And it's right. He Googled limb salvage and he found that doctor. I love you.
The perseverance and the acceptance, I think both of those 2 things, the perspective, and the acceptance, like those are things I think, again, we can all relate to, is just like, looking at yourself through a different lens and accepting who you are.
And just having acceptance.
Yeah.
And just being okay that we're enough.
Yeah.
We're enough, and we are exactly the way we're supposed to be. And it was really hard for me to wrap my mind around things like, when I was leaving the hospital, I was so excited. I had been begging the doctors to let me out of the hospital the first time I was in the hospital. And I had one of the doctors, he was a pulmonary doctor, he came in and I was being released. And I was like, I'm so excited to get back to my bed and my family and to train my clients. And he said, oh, well, you're probably not going to ever run again, and you'll never wear shorts. And it hurt. It was like a knife in the heart. And I used that. When I look back, that's one of my most motivating moments, because I was so determined to prove him wrong. And it took 2 years, but I learned to run again, and I ran on the beach, and it was just awesome. But now I want to run into his office in like a bikini.
I'm sure you're going to do that. Let's see. What's the biggest risk you've taken?
The biggest risk? I've done some crazy stuff, like jumped out of planes and bungee jumped, that kind of crazy risky stuff. And I won't ride a motorcycle anymore, but I used to like race my motorcycle. And but I think the biggest risk I've taken is when I decided to write a book. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, and to really be vulnerable and write down and share with the rest of the world your most, biggest challenges. It was like being dragged naked over the hot coals. I relived a lot of those challenges, and but I have written a book. And it's called True Grit and Grace, because there's been a lot of gritting and some grace, and it kind of tells my story. And I talked to a publisher yesterday who sent me over a contract, and it's scary to read through this, contract, but it's a dream and it's a risk, and I'm grateful that my husband's been supporting me through all of it, and he is the superhero in the book. So please read it.
I can't wait to read it. I'm so excited. How do you celebrate your accomplishments?
I love being in nature, and whenever I have free time, it's my favorite thing to do is to be out in nature. And especially the ocean, I feel like it just recharges me. So if I have time, and I want to celebrate an accomplishment, I love to go to the ocean or go for a hike. Get some sunshine, and of course the spa is nice.
Anyone, you've talked a little bit about you know, people that kind of stood in your way or told you couldn't do something. What have you learned from, you know, is there anything else in particular that you want to share, like someone or something blocked your path and what you did to go in a different direction?
Honestly, I don't think I've ever let anyone block my path. When I moved, yeah, I mean, when I moved from Texas, I just graduated high school, and I packed up my car. It was my dream to be a dancer, and I packed up my car. I put all my stuff in this little Suzuki Samurai, and my mom came out and said, "What are you doing packing all your stuff? You're only going to be there a couple of years." And it's been set. Okay, it's been 27 years. That's how old I am. But
you were like 1 year old.
Yeah, I was 1 when I came here. And my dad said, "I think you're making a big mistake." And so even though I didn't have like the pom-poms and cheering me on to come out here, I still came out here and I didn't let it stop me. I pursued my dreams and was very fortunate to have a dance career. But I think the only person that's ever stood in my way is myself. Like, I can get my mind going, and there's that quote by Henry Ford, "Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right." And I believe that your mind is powerful, and I can be my own worst enemy, and if I believe that I can do something and I can dream it, then I can achieve it. But if anybody gets in the way, it's usually myself.
Yeah. What do you believe?
I believe in miracles.
I love that. And what's the happiest you've ever been?
I have a lot of happy moments. I think what stands out, one of the happiest moments is when I found out I was pregnant with Ruby, because the doctors had said that we wouldn't be able to have a baby. And so I said, I believe in miracles. I found out I was pregnant, and we found out she was conceived on our wedding night. I promise, I'm not making that up. So I just felt that was one of the happiest days. And then another one of the happiest days is the day that I ran on the beach with Ruby, and being able to run after, you know, I ran every day. Like, some people don't like to run. Running was my favorite thing to do. Like, Johnny used to make a joke because he would have a break and I would have a break, and I'm like, "Okay, where are you? I'll run there. I'll be there in 20. Like, I ran. Everybody saw me around town running. That's just what I did. And not to run for 2 years was so difficult. So the day that I could run, I was so happy because, you know, I'd been told that that would never happen. And I was even happy that Ruby could beat me. She was faster. But I'm working on it, Ruby. I'm catching up to you.
Watch out. Okay, finish the sentence. Women are.
Oh my God. Women are multi-diversity, powerful, passionate, caring, loving, bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, badass warriors. I have hope. I've got hope. It's going to be okay, you know.
I will create
happiness in my life because I have the choice and I choose to be happy.
Yeah. I'm thankful for?
I'm thankful for so many things. I am so thankful for my health, because without health, you don't have much of anything. So I'm very thankful for my health and my family's health and all of your health.
Life is?
Precious. Every day is a gift, and you don't know just in the blink of an eye how fast your life can change. So enjoy every moment and just be grateful for everything.
I wish.
Well, I used to say I wish to be out of pain, but now I've wrapped my mind around the fact that my nerve disease as a result of the accident, I will always have pain. But I can wish now, because I can wrap my mind around that and do things to feel better, I can now wish just for my family to have good health.
I believe with sheer determination and a lot of passion, you can do anything you want in life. And I am determined, not stubborn. I'm determined. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.